Hello, 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 creators. It's lovely to see you this fine Monday afternoon. I hope you're all well. My name is Emily. I am a writer, speaker, editor, publisher. I run an organization called Story City, which allows anyone to create and sell interactive stories that only open in the right location. You don't need to know any tech. You just need to create stories how you would normally do so, whether it's video, audio, images, text, and our back end helps you place that story in a city. So, why be a pirate? Why be a tourist when you can be a pirate looking for pirate treasure, or a private investigator trying to solve a mystery? The idea behind Story City is that, we allow you to make stories that your audience can literally step into, whether those be real life choose your own adventures, there might be escape room style puzzle trails, there might be behind the scenes film tours, interactive documentaries, interactive theatre, social issues walks. We've had a whole gamut of different stories on the platform, from walking tours to fictional based stories. And the point of this Monday and this session every Monday is to literally brainstorm with creators who turn up to brainstorm their story ideas. We're only a little organization though at the moment. We have a lot of people in Australasia, so I know that it tends to be a bad time on a Tuesday morning for them, and Monday afternoons tend to only work for those of us who don't necessarily have a day job. So I understand if you guys can't be here in person, but you are always welcome to send us an email at info@storycity.app with a story idea that you're wanting to bounce off someone, and we're happy to discuss that live, even if you can't potentially be here. So please do flick us an email if you are interested in us having a little brainstorm, even if you may not be able to make it in person. More than happy to do that. Otherwise, I have a backup story that I've been working on over the past couple of weeks that we can do as well. So for anyone who rocks up into the chat room, I'm just going to put this in our little messaging system here. If you'd like to brainstorm the story live, we will turn on our requests. So that we can allow people to do so if they wish. So if you'd like to brainstorm a story live, just hit the request button in the chat and we can pull you on stage with guest star. All right. So, I don't know about the rest of you, but it is spring here in Canada. Even though I have the Australian accent, I am in Canada. Um, but I'm excited that it's spring. It means that we get to go out and do a little bit more things outside. But it also means that I get to do more adventures using Story City. So that always makes me excited. I get to explore a new part of the city. I think as the um, city continues to warm up, I know that I wanted to explore the river valley here in Edmonton. There's a choose your own adventure that runs along the river valley, where you have the river speaking to you. So I'm very excited to give that one a try. But until then, what I wanted to do was I wanted to keep focusing on rewriting a story. Actually, the story that started off Story City in the first place. It was originally written for Adelaide, which is in South Australia, and it was just a comedic alien invasion story. It was written very specifically for Adelaide City, so what I've been attempting to do is kind of adjust it so that it could be placed in any city. And that proves a little bit interesting in a bunch of different cases, right? Because some of the locations are like facades of buildings, where a alien laser beam hits the facade, brings to life an animal in the facade, which in this case was a unicorn, which was in the shield of the facade, and that unicorn goes and it kicks butt and saves the day and sinks down the spaceship But obviously, if you're looking to put this in every city, you can't guarantee that every city has a facade that's got a unicorn on it. So how do you mitigate that? Um, your first instinct might be like, oh, well, generally there's a statue of a random dude on a horse somewhere, right? There's always a statue of a random dude on a horse. But what if it isn't in walking distance of the rest of the locations in that story? What do you do then, right? And so it's trying to kind of troubleshoot those things. One of the other things that was a major or is a major challenge in this rewrite of the story is that the idea is it's meant to happen in the main square, City Hall Square of the city. And so there were a lot of statues in that area. And so, what would happen with each of those different statues is that each of those different statues essentially brought the spaceship down in a different way. But they were written so that it wasn't the obvious thing that brought that spaceship down. So, like if you went to a statue that had a weapon, um, the idea was is that the statue doesn't reach for the weapon; it reaches for a bag that was at its foot and it twirls it around its head and it uses that to get rid of the spaceship, for example. So it was meant to be that it was kind of surprising and slightly silly what the statue would do. Um, and so, unfortunately, if you're trying to write this for any city, yes, most city plazas and city halls will have a number of statues, commemorative statues or monuments in that area, but you do not know what they look like. Is it a dude with a wig? Is it a woman and a child? Is it a man on a horse? We don't know, right? And so it then makes it difficult to be like, okay, well, what if it is if we just say that this statue is holding a weapon of some kind? Okay, so maybe they're holding a gun or a spear or a sword or whatever that is, but it would be the obvious choice to have that weapon bring down a spaceship. So how do you make that statue's bringing down of the spaceship a surprise when you don't know what it looks like? So that's kind of what I want to do here with that story. And then the idea is that I was honestly thinking of going onto Reddit and jumping into the different cities, like into Vancouver or Edmonton, or the Reddit threads for those cities, and actually getting people to help me place that story, right? Do you have these features in your city? If so, where are they? Right? What does this statue look like? What does that statue look like? How far away are they placed? All of those kind of things. So, um, if you know your city very well, if you are an explorer in your city, I would really like to chat to you. Um, Hell, I'll even invite you on stage here so we can play around with maps and placing stories. But the idea is to have a really silly alien story in each, major city in Canada. Let's give it a shot. And then maybe, we'll expand that out to the States, for example. But first we have to write the story and make that story, as I said, more surprising and less like expected, right? And so that's what we've been doing here over the past couple of weeks in terms of the brainstorming. Although if you turn up during this session, please feel free to jump into the chat. And we would love to brainstorm your story as well, because this story can always be here. Whereas I understand that it takes a while to organize to be at something that is a live stream. So let's get to the uh, live editing, which I don't think is very fascinating, but like some of the people that I've gotten feedback from is like, oh yeah, it's great to see how you edit this thing, and I wouldn't have thought how to change that thing. So um, I'm glad that it is of interest to some of you to see someone live edit. I try to make myself as interesting to kind of like walk through these things as possible. Um, but yeah, we will see how we go. Okay. So we're going back to our ballsy adventure, to which we will need to eventually get some graphics at some point, but at the moment, mainly text, which we will record some audio to. So we've kind of gone piece by piece through here. If you've gone through different stories with us, or different weeks with us, you would have seen this kind of migration of the story as it's gone through. Anything marked with an asterisk, we haven't really tackled properly yet. We did try to tackle these two here: statue with a weapon, statue with rockets. Um, and we weren't that happy. Well, I wasn't that happy with how like funny that would be because it seemed to be the obvious um, answer or ending to a story when you didn't know what the statue was, and the only thing you knew about it was holding a weapon. Um, so we might leave those to kind of tackle at the very end because at the moment I just think that their innings are slightly boring. Like they'll serve us, but they're slightly boring. So we'll leave them for the moment, um, and then we will do this last one, which we changed to an art gallery because we were like, look, I don't know if there's going to be a unicorn in the facade. I do not know if there is going to be a horse. So we were kind of sending people to an art gallery, um, because at least most city centres tend to have some sort of art gallery, whether it's a government one or a private one in that kind of city centre area. So we figured you could at the very least be able to find one, even if you can't find a facade that has a unicorn on it. So if we just go back to the previous chapter just to see what we had happen. So you have arrived at, I did say town hall. I think I'm going to change it to city hall. North America seems to use the term city hall a lot more than they use town hall. So you've turned up at city hall, found it very closed. You have a laser that carves a face in the doorway above you, and then that face starts to speak. That was because as we were going through pictures and Google Street Views of city halls, particularly in Canada, none of them had facades. They were all very kind of like straight laced, you know, marble covered pillar entryways that didn't really have a lot of, I want to say, character to them. So we kind of had to make a character to fit in with the story that was previously written. So we've had it that one of the alien lasers has carved an accidental face, and that face has come to life. And so no one bothers to ask the opinion of the government building. Everyone comes for the opinion of the mayor. I've survived multiple governments and am better looking. Do you shriek and run for the nearest church, or stand your ground and ask, well, what would you do then? I would ask the artwork at the gallery for help. And that's why no one asks a facade, you say, and I dare you to ask. Okay. So we haven't specified that, they have to find a picture of a horse or something, right? So that makes our job a little bit easier now when we are writing, ask the art for help. The problem with that is obviously that, an art gallery is generally inside, the artwork is generally not outside. Maybe rather than art gallery, I wonder if street art, I wonder how prolific street art is in downtown areas. Let's see here. Street art map Vancouver, because that might be a better thing for us. Uh, let's say for China. Okay, let's see what we can find. Canby Village. No, that's not where we are. We're not really in downtown, so that's all along George Street, etc. No, that's the wrong area. Marpole. Nope. Mount Pleasant. Oh, this might actually be the fairly correct area. Let's have a look here. City Hall. Canby Street. Oh, maybe the one with Canby Street was our. Because this says Main Street, Quebec, Scotia, Kingsway, Columbia, Alberta, Yukon. So that is all over this side here. So we're going as far as Columbia, which is probably too far away from our city hall. So you'd say Canby. So it's Canby Street, and where is King Edward? It's Broadway. There is King Edward. This is 18th Street and 17th. So that looks to be as far north as that goes. So again, probably too far away from City Hall where all of this is meant to take place. No, not our appropriate area. See if they have themselves a map. They do not. How sad. Because that would probably be your best bet, right? Um, is uh, is to put it in kind of street art. So again, it's more over that side than it is over here, which is where we need to be. drop ourselves in Vancouver. Let's see if we can find ourselves a little bit of street art just chilling out. So this is our city hall. Bunch of park. City square. Go along the north here. More residential type buildings than anything through here, isn't there? Makes me really curious what that building is that someone blocked out. Okay. Yeah, not really a lot in there in terms of street art around here. So we did find a art gallery. For Edmonton, there is a lot of murals kind of downtown as well. But again, I don't really have a map necessarily of them. Ah, Calgary Public Art Collections. This is probably more statues than anything. It's flower, transit story, diamonds. Ha! Surprisingly, horses. Good job, Calgary. Although it is, if you think about it, a cowboy state. So shouldn't be too surprised that there are horses around the place. Okay, so this doesn't give us any public art. This kind of just gives us different um, different pieces of art. 24, 18. Doesn't necessarily name them by their numbers, does it? Oh, there we go, 18. It's a public library. They obviously don't have pictures of all of them. One is a monument, which again, not particularly helpful for us if we're talking um, street art. So maybe we do have to stick with the art gallery, unfortunately. Um, as I said, they tend to be inside. Um, all right. we enter the art gallery. Peace. Yes. Feels this has me and at least has an animal or person that might. Because it could be a statue that you select rather than a painting. So pancake is not going to be a good insult. Um, Stop being lazy. Show these aliens where we have bowls. I don't know. What does everybody else think? Let's see. Oi, pancake. Maybe not pancake. Maybe oi. Um. Hmm. Because it would be kind of like frozen in place, right? Uh, so not necessarily concrete moorings, but heaves itself from its medium. Pieces of cracking artwork scattering all over the floor. being has grown to rapidly expanding upwards as it pushes past you and out into the street. Okay, Lady swear it's almost so poignant, it twinkles, it gulps through the air. Oh goodness, this is hard doing a description of this when you don't know what the piece is going to look like at all. This where electricity sparked between its limbs. As it launched itself through the air. Side, shoulder, shoulder, do a pro, proud. Being flips and space ship over its back like an Olympic martial arts contestant. A move that would do a pro wrestler. Maybe do a WWE proud. However, water. The streets as the spaceship is slammed into the near body of water. You hurry to meet the rapidly shrinking as the vessel shrinks rapidly for your eyes. All right. So that takes us to an ending. And so all of the ones that connect to the ending will need to change the labels for them because originally it was a fountain in the center of the square. Rush to the, we're going to say crash site. It's probably going to be our easiest adaptation here. So what are all of our different endings? Choir of Angels, rush to the crash site, monument with rockets, rush to the crash site, statue with a weapon. I'm going to rush to the crash site. I should explain what I'm doing here. What I'm doing is I'm going to the ending and seeing what chapters connect to it, and I can tell that by the blue here. So I can tell what chapters would connect into this final ending. Statue of a politician. Statue closest to a body of water. I think that should be all of them. Okay, beautiful. All right, so we made the art gallery go fine. Not the most surprising ending because we don't get to talk about pointy unicorn horns, but fairly solid as endings go, particularly if it is meant to be placed in any city. Okay, let's give this previous chapter a try and let's see if we can't think of a more interesting way to liven things up a little bit. All right. It's a launch will launch rockets with the right command phrase. Maybe that's a way to add a bit of comedy in it. Okay. Across the way seems an unlikely partner in invasion weapons. Perhaps that explains. Now, originally, SA Water is the regulated government, the regulated utility in Adelaide. And so it was a big glass building that was kind of opposite the way from the statue. So how do we then make that generic to any city? So the building across the way seems an unlikely partner in invasion weapons, but if the internet, or maybe if Reddit has taught you anything. More anonymous. I can't spell anonymous to save my life. More anonymous the character there we go. We can kind of keep the spirit of it. phrase this properly. Okay. All right, so this particular statue in Adelaide had an eyeglass. So it was holding something in its hands. We decided to go with a monument rather than a statue because the object didn't really matter. In this case, it took off its large hat and kind of threw it. Not every statue is going to have a hat. Or at least I can't off the top of my mind think of a bunch of statues that I know off the top of my brain that have hats. Not that I am counting the number of statues of hats, but um, 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 it's unlikely that you'll be able to frisbee something at the craft. So if we say, all right, it's going to be a launch pad for rockets, right? So we don't just want it to be like you press this thing, rockets come out, shoots the thing down. That's a bit boring. So maybe let's have us try tapping a bunch of things. Nothing happens. You're getting more and more annoyed about it. And so you start trying to say like Aladdin style phrases to get it to trigger. Um, Maybe here some of the comedy can come from people deciding what thing they press is going to be the thing that like depresses or triggers or something like that. Like that could be a little bit of fun, right? And if you could get someone to like take a photo and post it, um, then that could be a bit of fun. Um, um, Particularly if eventually we build into the app the ability for people to like upload photos into the gallery of what their place looks like, right? Or their statue looks like, or their thing looks like. So that could be a bit of fun. Okay. Um, then we might decide potentially that um, uh, um, then you decide to try the more, shall we say, weird, scandalous, pressing and yanking at the more okay. Kind of like the idea of like people, like I'm always like a sucker for those articles that appear in your newsfeed that's like, oh, 10 of the best photographs that people took with inanimate objects or statues or things like that, right? And so I'm always a sucker for those. I love seeing how people like interact with statues and things like that. Um, um, extension. So maybe it might work. Let's see. Monument. Section peels back in quarters, maybe? And the rockets you had hoped to be inside in a series of loud bangs. It'd be fun if they were fireworks rather than rockets. Maybe we'll put that as the first sentence before here. No, that is not a link. Thank you kindly. No direct damage. That is me. Giant frisbee and plummets. All right. I think that's good. That's a nice surprise because it's rockets, but not rockets. It's fireworks. Um, and uh, it's more a party monument than a than an Invasion Day monument. I wonder if North Americans say hot footing it. Is that an Australianism? I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me in the follow-up email. info@storycity.app, please. And I do hope that people take this and like pose with a statue. That would be so fun. Okay. All right. So that's a much better ending now with the monument. A monument with rockets? Question mark. Kind of. And then we have a statue with a weapon. But we are now at our 1 hour mark for this live stream. So I will leave this until next week. Just in case again we don't have anyone who wants to brave doing some live brainstorming. I promise I don't bite. I really love to workshop and play with ideas with creators to see what we can figure out. It doesn't have to be interactive storytelling. It does not have to be uh, a real life choose your own adventure or something that's done in the city streets. It can be honestly a novel, a short story, a video game, a mobile game. I'm happy to chat. Game mechanics, characterization, um, plot holes, world building, whatever it is that you are interested in and willing to have a chat about. Uh, and one thing I will also say is that I know that sometimes the idea of brainstorming ideas, particularly live and on a live stream that would be recorded, does sometimes have a lot of people being like, oh, what about if someone steals my idea? And to that, I say to you what I have said to many an author who thinks the same thing if they are going to put their story in for a writers group or into a publisher. Um, no idea is new. And very often, many people will have the same idea, as you can see in trends. When paranormal was a big trend in books, or particular types of games might have been a big trend in a particular year or time. Um, the cultural zeitgeist sees a lot of the same ideas played out in a bunch of different books or movies or TV shows. But the thing is that each person who gets given an idea will do something completely different with that idea. And the voice that you use and the characters that you have will make that idea completely different to somebody else's. So while J.K. Rowling may have made a boarding school for wizards, there existed many books about boarding school wizards beforehand and many books about boarding school wizards after. And each one of them has their own merits, their own types of audiences, their own genres, their own styles, their own themes. So it is never the idea, it is always the execution. So never be afraid to chat your ideas, never be afraid to brainstorm. And know that, even if today someone stole 1,000,001 of your novel ideas and tried to write them themselves, the chances are that they would come up with a billion different ideas different to you, as long as they didn't use Chat GPT. Because from my understanding, Chat GPT just kind of starts giving out generic answers. So, you know, can't be writing your stuff on Chat GPT. Moral of the story there. So please come along. We do this every Monday at 4 p.m. MST time, which is 6 p.m. on the East Coast, or 3 p.m. on the West Coast of North America, or 10 a.m. there in Australia, depending on what state you're in. So welcome one and all. We have our adventure hour this week, this Friday in North America, Saturday in Australasia, where we are going to be the sidekick of an inept hero with creator and